So hello everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli, Intuitive Soul Alignment Coach here. And so I am here on my LeimomiTV. It's our basically our first time that I'm going to be really announcing my new type of TV show. I have been doing my live stream show for about, I guess, like the past couple months, but this is going to be where I am going to more share about conscious living and ways of getting into soul and business alignment. So I have actually both of you guys here on my Facebook group and also on my personal page. So I'm going to be sharing new tips for you guys. And I hope that I can also create like a timeline so that every day, usually around like 4:30 or 5 o'clock is when I will probably be doing my LeimomiTV here. And so I'm going to share about basically my new insights, new awakenings that I'm getting while I am working on doing everything in my business and my life into alignment the way that my soul is designed to do. So I feel like right now, many of you are in transition. Many of you are maybe feeling very overwhelmed or maybe not feeling completely like you're in alignment with what you're meant to do. So this is where I'm going to spend more time with you guys to answer any of your questions that you may have where you're feeling stuck, but also just help you to gain a higher level of consciousness. So the whole reason why I created LeimomiTV was because I felt like we are at a breaking point where we really want to rise into a much higher level of consciousness as a collective. And so I feel like there is like nowhere out there where we can talk about these things and talk about it in a perspective that everybody can just share and be loved and feel that connection. And so I'm going to do this regularly, and also this is going to be on my YouTube channel, which, by the way, if you want to know all of these videos that I've made, I have like hundreds of them on my YouTube channel. So you can go and search me on YouTube, Leimomi Keliikuli, and subscribe, and you're going to get all of these amazing content that will help you to up-level in your consciousness and up-level you in your business. So I wanted to share today, and by the way, if you don't know too much about me, I am an intuitive soul alignment coach. So I basically help you to see where you are like in your life or your business where it's not in alignment to your soul, and how you're going to get back into alignment. And that's basically what I do. And I can also clear any of those soul level blocks that may be restricting you from, clearing out the mindset, doing all the necessary things to help you to get that clarity. And I basically read your Akashic records, your divine soul blueprints, and these are going to be the roadmap to helping you to propel you to create better income, to be a better impact, to lead in your industry, all of that. But you really do need your blueprints. So that's basically what I do in a nutshell. So I also teach you how to do this. Like I teach you how to use meditation or different kind of tools so that you can create everything in alignment to your soul. So that's what I call soul alignment. Okay. And I'm the founder of the Soul Alignment Manifestation Method and the Expand Your Highest Psychic Gifts system. And those are the basic tools that I teach my clients and my people how to use that to step into their leadership in their unique way. So anyway, today's topic will be about why consuming more information will actually keep you disempowered. And I'm looking between two cameras, so that's why you're going to see me look here and there, okay? Why is it keeping you disempowered and in inaction, and you never get closer to creating a business that's really aligned to your soul? And why acting from the heart is actually what will bring you the most clarity. and most clarity about what you actually are looking for, right? So, and then also I will explain about what is the 7D levels of consciousness. So if you are wanting to learn more about consciousness levels, this is perfect. So if you like this, share this on your Facebook feed, and have all your people come and listen, because this is going to be epic, okay? This is perfect timing. I had a day where I took in too much information. I was trying to catch up on stuff, and I lost the wind in my sails and got a little sad. Oh, so I turned it off and just got silly with my little one and waited until I was able to raise my frequency to hope and curiosity. I have my pen and pad ready. So Elizabeth says, yay! Okay, this is perfect then. You're gonna love it. And at any time, ask your questions, okay? You can, it's totally fine, because I'm going to see it pop up on my screen. I'm going to try to answer your questions at the same time. Takia says, 7D is awesome. Yay. Well, 7D is what we're going to talk about for sure. D says, yep, not many of any places like this. Yeah, you don't really find anybody talking about higher level of consciousness the way that I do. And I'm saying very freely, like my pure perspective on it. And I do that because I have so much experience about different levels of where people are at, and it's about consciousness. So you have to, if you're really like a light worker and you're helping your creative, you're helping lots of people, you have to keep in mind that most people don't understand this stuff. And it's very rare that you find somebody constantly talking about it, right, at this level of perspective. So it's good that you need to be like around people who can share that information with you. But most of the time, the information that we consume is not very high level consciousness. So this is why you get overwhelmed, especially once you become like 5D or 4D consciousness. You get super ultra sensitive. And that super ultra sensitive, it means that you need to have more integrity and being able to know what is your truth, right? And being in this neutrality. So you're gonna hear me talk a lot about that. Like, how can you get more into this, that neutral space? Because everything that you see out there, actually the information is a very, very low level of consciousness. And what I mean is a frequency, is a type of consciousness. So the more you consume a lower level of information, the more you feel overwhelmed and confused, and you don't feel clarity because it's not coming from a space directly from the heart. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about to let you know that you really, really have to be choosy about what information you're consuming. Just like how like you do diets and stuff, right? Like, there are just certain things that obviously are going to help you, or they're going to disempower you in some way, right? And so if you are not aware of that kind of information, you could be consuming junk food, right? It's the same thing. You could be consuming, information that's junk to your mind and your body and your spirit. So then this is why you get overwhelmed, you get tired, okay? And you tend to lose your confidence, because you're like, oh, yeah, good, I'm gonna know like how to do this X, Y, and Z thing, but in reality, it's not the thing that's gonna create money or income, or it's gonna create something that's really more tangible for you to be using. So you gotta be super, super clear about why you are consuming that information, okay? And even if it looks super cool, don't buy it. Okay, because usually the stuff that you consume that looks super cool, like good for you, think that's going to help you with something, that's a really good sign that it is coming from an ego space, that maybe it's not the best tool. Like, it's not the best thing for you to be in that, to be aligned to it or not. So that's the first key, is you have to be aware of what you're consuming, just like how you eat food, right? What information are you consuming? Where is it coming from? And how you can do that is you can actually test the feeling of it. If you're very clairsentient or audience or clairvoyant, there's just different ways that you can know if the information is right. If you're clairsentient, you will feel a vibration or a certain thing in your body first. You'll be like, wait, is that good information for me to look at, or is it not? And you can actually feel it, like even on your fingertips, you may even feel the vibration of it. And if it feels in your body not good, usually you should not look at it. If you're a clairaudient, you obviously want to see what kind of words that they're channeling. And usually like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the information that is being said, you can tell if this is just something to market to you, right? Like this is just a sales way of tactic, or is it really like good, pure, like energy, right? Because the information is a kind of energetic frequency, right? So you can use that by seeing also what the words is. If you're clairvoyant, obviously you can see the way that the design or the pattern of the information, how does that look like, right? So whatever is your main gift, you can go step into it and test it first, right? Just like when you go, if you go to Costco, right, like they have all those people's like testing the food, right? It's the same thing with information. You want to taste it first, and if it doesn't taste right, maybe it tastes pretty good, and that's just somebody giving you value at that moment, right? But doesn't always mean that that's the best food that you really should be eating, right? So my son likes that. He likes to go to Costco just to test all the different types of food, because kids like that, right? So like think of information like that. You really have to see what's the frequency or the energy behind the actual thing. Because there is an actual feeling, there's an actual image you might get, there's an actual audio transmission that you're going to get by looking at the information, okay? So that's the first thing you need to see is, are you consuming information that is key for your growth, that's going to allow you to get to your next level, okay? And I've been practicing this stuff that I just told you guys about, so that's why I'm telling you guys now, because I could tell when it was good information or when it wasn't good information for me. And as soon as I started testing, I was like, oh, that's not an integrity. That doesn't feel right. That doesn't like translate to something that I'm going to do in the future, and I turn it off. Same thing with TV too. Like, we get so drawn into the darn information, right? The images you see on the TV, because that's what they're good at. That's what TV is good at. Like, they're good at getting you emotionally feeling about the thing. But don't fall for it, okay? Don't fall for it. You gotta see, is that empowering me, or is that really keeping me in action, right? And I'm glad that you guys are actually sitting with me too. That I'm getting hot. That you guys are sitting with me and you are seeing that what I share with you is at a higher level of frequency. So this is why many of you come and listen to me, because I really want TV to feel like that, because it can feel kind of not good for your soul or for your growth. For sure, if you are like taking on that information that's really not aligned to you right now. Dee says, yep, so true to feel it. You do need to feel it. Takia says, yeah, I get that feeling too. Soon as it feels icky, I'm out of there. Yeah, that's true. And the same thing with TV, any kind of TV show, things you see on TV, on the radio or internet, you really, really have to have a clear purpose or like really, really make sure that that's an integrity for you, okay? Okay, so now back to what I was saying. So I have my little notes here. So that first step is, number one, seeing, is that really beneficial for my soul right now? And you can ask that question. You can just take a minute to ask that within yourself, in your heart, asking your soul, is this information right for me? And you have to really decide where you want to spend most of your energy and your time in, because like, you know, time is money. So if you are using your time that doesn't get you to where you want to go, it's going to keep disempowering you. So what's happening on an energetic level when you're just consuming all that information, it makes you get to a point where you don't really know what you want anymore. Does it make sense? So that is when you know it's not right, because you start getting unclear, like Elizabeth just said, right? You get unclear and you feel really uncomfortable, right? He says, yes, I can't watch a lot of stuff. As soon as it makes me feel low, I have to switch it off. Yes, that's also how you know, is you start to feel really low, really sad. Elizabeth just said that. That's how you know it's not good for you, right? Tiki says, yep, I can't watch it. Even when I try, I feel like I have to vomit. That when I knew I was totally expanding, that's how you know also if it's expanding, right? You are able to like contain that information. Okay, so now I want to talk about the 7 levels of consciousness. Okay, you guys already know this, but like I'm gonna like break it down a little bit more so you know like how to use this so that you're not getting too much information at the wrong time and you're not getting the benefit of it. Okay. So the first thing that you need to know is, we already know that there is actually the 3D world, the 4D world, 5D world, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? There's different dimensional levels of and there's a different purpose for getting into that dimensional levels. And I've kind of explained it before, but I want to explain it in terms of how this relates to your soul's gifts. So if this is the first time you guys are tuning in, just know that I've already said this, but I want you to understand in a more simplified version of how that translates to you getting overwhelmed or disempowered and stops you from creating in your business. Okay, so you have to remember that at every level of dimensional level, they're there for a purpose, right? Our soul we actually have like more than 144 dimensional levels. Like, it's incredible how much infinite information is out there. And so this is why it's so key to know what's right for you. And you have to really come from a part of discernment. So when you are like at a level of just awakening that oh yeah, I want to learn more about my spirituality. I want to learn more about what my soul is meant to do. That is actually at a level of usually between the third dimensional world and the 4th dimensional world. Okay, so the levels, they all have different purpose, and we have access to these levels at any given time. And then above, right? So we actually know, we really have this ability to just know when we are in there by certain characteristics. Like, you're just gonna know if you are in what dimension level are you thinking or are you being. So our being, we have usually about 10 dimensional aspects of our soul, okay? Just I'm gonna state that. The higher dimensional aspects obviously is where you're being of service, you're being source, where you actually end up looking like the embodiment of a multidimensional being, like how Buddha was or Jesus. Like, when we get to that higher levels of our dimensional aspect and we're living more in that dimensional reality, that's when your truth, your integrity, your legendary part of yourself will come through. Okay. So we can go in and out of different dimensional levels for different purposes. So don't think like, oh, I have to be in 7D, I have to be in 8D, I have to be in 10D, I cannot be in 3D, like I cannot be in 4D. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's more about like, what consciousness do you want to be in this body right now? Okay. because there is a purpose to go into each level. So in short, obviously we've been hearing a lot about this, that we are in third dimensional reality, everything that has to do with the body, that has to do with the chaotic grid, right? All these emotions and all the chaos of not feeling, like just feeling disempowered, right? The 3D grid, the third dimensional world, is what keeps us like human. So in a sense, if you really want to experience the kind of lower dimensional aspects of yourself, then obviously, you know, stick around in the 3D world. And there's nothing wrong with that. People decide to do that. That's just what they have decided. So when I was saying, you need to decide where you want to spend most of your consciousness of your time in, okay? So obviously the 3D world will be where a lot of people, of course, can experience this overwhelm. And of course, all the chaotic situation. So it's okay as long as you feel the beautiful life experience you can get out of it. Like, think about it. When you go on adventures with your body, when you like skydive, you know, when you read a really good book and you love it, you feel it in your body. Like, the 3D world is meant to experience that. You're meant to experience everything good, but usually when we are in the 3D too much, we cannot express our soul as much, right? Then the 4D world is usually of the mind, right? So obviously the 3D will be more about the lower dimensionals of our body, like more tangible things, right? That's where you experience a lot of the tangible stuff. And as you go up, you experience the more intangible stuff. So the 4D will be of the mind. It's the emotional states. It's like thoughts, emotions, thoughts. It's the place where all the mental patterns or illusions that we have, they actually don't have any power over us unless you give it. So most people are actually usually between the 4D and the 3D. And so what we're saying about, you know, in the next like few years from now, when we're raising consciousness, we are actually going to have access. We have access now to the 5D. So when we have access to the 5D, actually, we already had it there, but like we usually went in and out of it because we were so stuck in the 3D. So we're not able to experience the difference between that. And the 4D really is just mental patterns, or like if think of like words and information is floating in the air, like they don't really have a power over us, but we have given like our mental patterns and our thoughts and illusions, our beliefs, so much power. And that's where you are stuck if you are so overwhelmed with consuming information and feeling disempowered, is because you're operating too much in the 4D. And you're going in and out of your 3D, and then both parts of your body and your mind is becoming unstable. So as we get up into the 5D and up, obviously it's going to give you more access to more of your spirituality, more of this higher expressions. And in the 5D, and by the way, this is where the Akashic records sit, it's just information like the internet. It's this information highway, but the information that is there is just like a library. It's meant to help us to create. So actually the 5D is all about heart and really coming from the creation, like coming from a space of you're bringing these higher dimensional soul aspects back down into your 3D, okay? He says, makes so much sense. Good, yay, okay. So you really have to know where you're sitting in your consciousness. Where do you want to sit? Do you want to really be in what dimensional aspects do you want to live in, okay? And like I said, there's no good or bad. So stop thinking like that there's a good thing that you're in the 5D or you're not. It's just what you are. It's your state of consciousness at the moment. And you can always change your consciousness. That's what's so cool about being human, is as soon as you know you're in the consciousness that you don't want, you can take an action. And by the way, when you take action, it changes all your dimensional aspects much more quicker than you trying to do it in your mind and do mindset work and try to figure things out in your mind. It takes way too long. So this is why you need to know what is your soul aligned action that you need to take every moment, every day. Because if it's aligned to you, you will change your 3D reality and all of these higher aspects of your soul you can actually experience in your 3D world. Okay? It's all three when it suits my moment. Yeah, so you want to have like all of those aspects all in. This is what's key. Is you're an integrated being. You're multidimensional. So you just need to know, where do you want to sit? Where do you want to live your life most of the time? Okay, and you can change it any moment. I get sick and tired of people saying like they can't change their life, because actually if they just get up, maybe go for a walk or go for a run or do some push-ups or do something physical in the 3D world, you can ultimately become happy and start doing your purpose, and then get into your creation as soon as you get clarity about what action that's aligned to the thing that you want to, which gets you more in your higher dimensional aspects. Okay, so if you're wanting to be more in this heart creation, where you're constantly creating that feels good from the heart, right? Then you're more in the 5D. Okay, your fifth dimensional aspect. Then for the 6D, this is actually where you experience peace. This kind of like peace embodiment. And there really is like, it's so quiet, like this is the part of you when you go in the mountains and you're like, oh, the sky is so beautiful. I'm so grateful for this moment. That's when you go in your 6D. So that's why people are saying like meditate, because you just need to if you just need that space to be more present, right? To be more present or be more present, right? Then you're accessing your 6D. But a lot of times what spiritual people are doing is they're sticking themselves in the 6D and they're expecting the 3D to kind of magically change. Kia says you really can change it at any moment. Sometimes I have to do when I'm around energy vampires, because I feel myself being drained. Yes, the energy vampires those are stuck in the 3D, right? They only think about the body level. They just want to take your energy. And by the way, if you get more into your higher aspects of your soul, you will actually be able to feel more positive. If you're more the 4D or the 3D, you're going to feel more heavy and negative. That's just the way that it is. The density. We're talking about density. It's much more dense at these dimensional aspects than the higher ones, right? So he says, I have had that peace, especially lately, a few times. Yeah, when you're having that peaceful moment, that's usually when you're being in your presence and you're really, really like loving and you're being very grateful, okay? Your 7D, which everybody's curious what that is, right? It has a lot to do with, again, it has a lot to do with your creation, right? He says, I haven't been in there too long, as in my 3rd or my 4th. Yeah, that's a fact for sure, Takia. So the 7D is going to be really where you start to manifestations or like higher levels of creation, and where you create relationships and connections. So the 7D is actually pretty dynamic. The things that you create and somebody else create at the same time, they all kind of like happen together, right? Watching this live on mobile. Oops, I missed. On mobile. Oh, okay. So if I'm on this side, then you can't see me. That kind of sucks. Hi, Tristan. Thank you, Alicia. I'm not sure how else I can do that. But anyway, as long as you can see my board and you can kind of understand what I'm saying, right? You can hear me. Okay. So what was I saying? So your 7D is going to be, this is why it's so important to know like what you want to create, because when you're in this creation, everything that you're connecting with people and you're doing at the same time, they co-create. Like this is your co-creation. It's kind of in the 7D. And so this is where your manifesting blueprints actually sit, because your manifesting blueprints has a lot to do with how you relate to the outside world and with people, with like even people, animals, everything. They change your 3D world pretty fast. And so if your higher dimensional aspects, like your 7D and up, like you start to get more famous and you get more expansive, like more people know what you do and stuff, that energetically does affect your 5D and your 4D and your 3D worlds. And if you have a lot of like past like karmic stuff at the same time, all the 5D, the 4D and 3D blocks, they manifest into all kinds of issues too. Like this is why you can get unknown diseases for some reason, why people get panic attacks or emotional disorders or physical disorders. In effect, when their lower dimensional aspects are not aligned to the higher, the more they become more expanded. If their karmic issues are not resolved energetically, they will create a lot of problems in your 3D world, okay? So this is what I do also in my clearing work in the Akashic Records, is I can clear the 5D and the 4D and the 3D blocks. Most of the time when you get clearing work, by the way, like when you do like energy editing or you do Reiki or all of those kind of practices that so-called change your mindset and clears out stuff, they're usually only operating in the 4D, which is just like thousands of information of emotional thoughts and patterns that you've been living. It's kind of hard to get in the 3D. So that's why in the Akashic Records, when you go into 5D, it instantly releases all the karmic stuff on every dimensional level of the soul. And the 3D level, you really, that's super, super deep in karmic, and you have to be super specific to get rid of 3D blocks. And 3D blocks are like familial type of blocks, like from, that's in your DNA, that's like beyond time and space and stuff like that. When I do clearing work for people, actually I clear out 7-dimensional levels and karmic background of generations before, that's present, and also in the future, so that all levels of yourself in your real reality, you can experience most abundance in your 3D, 4D, and your 5D, because most of the time we actually need to sit in the 5D, the 4D, or the 3D. Like you can't get out of it. If you live on another planet, you could get a lot of the higher dimension aspects. Now everybody is living all together. All the people that are in the 3D thinking world and the 4D and the 5D and the 6D, everybody all is experiencing this all together. Before that, we only were more operating in the 3D or the 4D. But now we have more access in the 5D with the 3D people at the same time. So this is why we are gaining a higher level of consciousness, and why we need to be aware also, like discernment, where I want to have my life to look like, right? To decide where you want to spend most of your time on these level of consciousness. 8D and higher, by the way, this is when you are in your higher self-expression. And when I mean self-expression, I mean like you are bringing in channeled information and your original content is coming through. And when you're doing at that level, when you're higher level expression, you're going to be being of a higher service for humanity. All of those dimensional aspects, higher than 8D and 7D, unless you bring in all aspects of your soul, your body, your mind, and spirit, then that's when you become more multidimensional. Dimensional. So before you become your higher expressions, by the way, you have to get rid of all your lower dimensional blocks, because it's not going to allow you to have more of a higher dimensional level of your evolution. So your consciousness needs to, you need to be more awakened to where you want to bring your energy into. And when you are in these higher levels, like you actually operate as being source, as being an embodiment, channeling all the right things. So right now, for me, I'm channeling a much higher level of information for you guys. I'm usually up in my 8D to 10D dimensional aspects, just sharing a higher level perspective, because that's what the information that my people, my audience need. So that they can operate in these other dimensional aspects and decide on where they want to live, right? So you need to really first, again, decide where you want your consciousness to sit most of the time. If you are in the 3D, and the 4D, and the 5D, like going between those, and by the way, when you become more like towards your 6D, your sixth dimensional aspect, that is usually about like 5.1 or 5.3 or 5.4, that level, like in between the 6.0, right, the higher level aspects like that. That's the part where you get super, like you want to consume lots of information, and that's very scary. That is when you actually are not able to have access to the soul. So the breaking point to really be able to be your soul and your essence, you have to be able to operate beyond, in between the 60 and above. Okay, so anyway, that's just a simple version of what else I can share with you. But I wanted to educate you guys first on that level, so that you know how does that translate into your alignment, right? Okay, any questions? Did I miss anything? Let me look at your comments. Hi Trisma, hi Sarah, hi Sharmi. Did I miss? Oh, Elizabeth says, is the 60 like the same energy from clear communication, energy between the mind and the heart? Yeah, I would say so. It is that communication that needs to be in alignment. Otherwise, then the mind and the heart, they conflict. So if you're having issues between like your ego and your heart or your mind, you're gonna get really, really stuck. And that stuckness is because you need to stop consuming information so that you can actually get in your 60. And when you get into your 60, then you feel more this deeper soul connection. Okay. D says, so if you are 5.3 and up, it's tough on your soul to access, right? Like when you're at that, I'm talking about consciousness level. So when we actually look at everybody's consciousness, it's different. It's a higher level, but we might not be able to have access to it at that moment because we just have too much stuff that we're trying to consume. Like when I find my clients are having issues, like issues with relationships, issues with knowing what their soul wants and stuff like that, like usually I have to look at that level, like between the 5.4 or 5.1 level, and usually they're in there. And so the only way to break through that is their guides, their spirit guides need to guide them to the next level. So they need like their 60 higher guides or someone that's at a higher level, and to help them get to that next level. So if you are like getting stuck in like 4D, you actually have your inner circle spirit guides and other guides out there that are actually helping you to get to that next one, right? So then the next guide should be at least 5D so that you can start embodying 5D. When you start growing at the next level, right, when you're actually at 5D, then you're going to have more of a higher level of guides at the 6D. And if you need to get to 7D, then you need the guides that are actually at the 7D level. Does that make sense? So we actually need to call upon the right guides to help us at what consciousness that we need. That's how you evolve faster, actually, is when you really connect with your inner circle spirit guides that way. Alicia says, is it possible to first come from 5D and actually struggle being more in 3D, which could be why relationships happen with close connection? So you have to think of it as like states in the moment. So like I said, you have access to all of them. It's hard to consider, because this is the way I also thought too. It's hard to consider that we all have all these dimensional aspects and we have access to it all the time, because we think like it's like linear. So you're actually, you're accessing 5D and 3D and 4D and stuff all the time. You know, it's just a matter of where you want to bring your consciousness towards, if that makes sense. Maureen says, will this be available for reviewing later? Yeah, on my YouTube channel, I usually take this and I put it on my YouTube channel. And by the way, later on, I'm going to take a lot of these content. I'm going to take it off of my YouTube channel and put it on my membership site. And so all that videos and all really, really good content to help you in your evolution of your soul is going to be on my site, because I think, like, you know, there's just so much. I have way too much videos, by the way. But I love doing this for you guys, and I'm teaching you guys all really good content. So Dee says, oh, I get it. So if you're consuming loads of information at 5.4, etc., you need to let go of so much information, collecting and focusing on what your soul requires only to move to 6. Yeah, yes, like that. If you want to move at a higher level of your consciousness and you want to keep being in that consciousness, you do need to make sure that the information you're receiving is at a higher level. And you can feel that, like I was explaining to you, you know, you can use your gifts in that way, but you do want to make sure that it is in alignment for you to get to your next higher dimensional levels, like have more access to it. So like I said, you have access to your 8D, your 7D, your 10D, you have access to all of it. It's just that where do you want to live and be in most of the time? And that is a choice. That really is a choice. So you really need to see where you are at soul level, right? And the best way you can do that is you actually need your blueprints. You need your soul's blueprints to help you to know how to keep yourself in that alignment. So what I have created is I've created this whole system that will help you to feel how to take actions in your 3D and your 4D world in a way where you're not feeling so dense, right? Not feeling the heaviness of it, but you're taking action towards your higher dimensional aspects, like, you know, your creation, your heart creation. You're feeling more peace inside. You're feeling more of that divine love and 7-dimensional aspect and above. When you get into there, that's where you feel that like collective peace and higher dimensionals of love, or we call like the Christ consciousness and all that other etheric stuff, which I do want to share with you guys when you guys are ready for that. But I feel like I just need to explain the different levels first, because you need to get over that concept that actually you have to ascend, because ascending, we're not ascending, we're actually like bringing the higher forms of who we are, like we're reconnecting in the remembrance of who we are, so we can live in the body. We're living in the 3D, the 4D, the 5D world. And right now the earth is shifting into 5D. She's actually, I don't know if she's made her, I think she's pretty much made her transition into the 5D. So that it's interesting because those that are in the 5D and the 3D, they're kind of living together. So this is why you walk down the street and you see lack, you see homeless people, people who are very in the 3D, but you also see many people who are very evolved and very beautiful and bright, and they're in their 5D and above, right? Takia says, how does that work when you're raising your vibe? It's not working for some reason. Are you guys actually seeing something on the screen? It doesn't seem like it's showing anything on the screen. How does that work when you're raising your vibe and there's someone who is totally attached to you and completely 3D driven, won't listen when you say you just don't serve each other anymore? Yeah, what happens is you get stuck in between your 4D and your 5D world, and it's very, very hard to keep yourself at your higher dimensional aspects, which is access to your soul. It actually makes you very small. Oh, you can see the screen? Huh. On my screen, I can't see the actual words up there for some reason. Okay, so it's good. You actually don't have the ability to be more in the consciousness that you want to be, because they will constantly pull at you. So people on the 3D, by the way, they just choose to be there. People who are stuck in the 4D, they just choose to be there. They're really stuck in their mind. They don't take action. They feel very depressed. They feel very disempowered, right? And yes, it's frustrating, and that's why it's frustrating. So this is why, if you want, this is a choice. This is absolutely a choice. You can have people around you who are still in the 3D. Like my parents, you know, they operate very much still in the 3D and the 4D. But when I engage with them, I have a much higher understanding of where they're at, because I know their consciousness level. So I just act with them according to their consciousness. And I'm fine. I'm still happy. I'm still, you know, doing what I need to do. But obviously, if the person is in your space, that takes a lot of energy. And they actually, what they basically need to learn is how to be more self-loving and take energy for themselves. That is good for everybody, right? Most people who are stuck in the 3D, they tend to just pull energy from people because they tend to be more of a negative being. But negative being is just mean that they just take energy. They just need to get reconnected to source. So once they're connected to source, they won't be pulling so much energy from others, right? That's exactly what I tell them too, but I have to relocate. Yeah, my mom is like her. Yeah, your parents, and by the way, if you're much more evolved than your parents and stuff like that, it's good, because it means that you're changing your family's karmic background. So the more you evolve your soul, right, the more it changes them, and they become much more lighter too. So you're doing actually a big service by being more in your embodiment of yourself. I try to teach them how to embody them higher selves, but they only stay there for short periods, then back to the bottom, right? And this is why it's important for them to figure out their unique way where they're going to be able to access their higher dimensional aspects. And they actually have to choose to take actions towards that, because otherwise they just get stuck back into the chaos. And they actually have to do like different practices and different lifestyles. And you can't change anybody's lifestyle for sure. Elizabeth says, I have had great strides and evolution this year. Now I'm focusing on bigger financial manifestation. I feel like I need to learn more mentors, etc. So this is where I use my intuition, it gives to discern what to follow, right? And that's also a test for you too, by the way, Elizabeth. Whenever you work with anybody, you're going into your 7D, and the 7D is not bad, and you're kind of co-creating. But if they are not at a higher dimensional aspect as you are, like they're very 3D, like very like about money and fame, or just something that's more like a lower consciousness, you can get pulled into their consciousness. So I've learned, by the way, I've had coaches who were at a lower level, and now I understand like the difference. I really do need coaches and people who are much more at a higher dimensional aspect. Otherwise, they cannot actually evolve as I have. Like, they don't know how to speak my language. And I thought that they were evolved, but they were not. They were just chasing the money or doing other things that was really not in alignment for their soul. So again, but again, that's what they have chosen, right? They have created that situation. So whenever you have people at a lower dimensional aspect and they're staying in the 3D, the 4D, they need to choose to be aligned to their soul. Like, do things that feels aligned to their soul. Like, actually take actions towards being in their soul. Then their consciousness, that level, like I was talking about, their 4.0 and above, and towards the 5D, then they really start to get to their heart creation. And this is why your manifesting blueprints is key. You need your manifesting blueprints, number one, and you need your main divine gifts and your soul's blueprints in order to keep yourself at your higher dimensional aspects, because it's really hard to do if you don't know the energies of your soul. So what I've done is I've actually taken all the different things of what I know that your business energy, what your unique way that you give to people, like who you are, what you do, your message, and all of that. You have to look at your 3 main divine gifts and how that is in play, because usually we, like I said, we are creating things at our second or our third gifts and not our main gift. So our main gift is where we're going to feel that soul alignment, where we're going to feel more in our 60 and above, where we're going to feel the soul. And all those parts of your blueprints, you actually need to start taking actions towards it. And then that's how you bring in abundance in your lower, your 3D world, in the 4D world. And what happens actually is you really do feel peaceful. You have just clear clarity. Like every day I just meditate and I can connect for 5 minutes. I can just decide like if this is in alignment to me or not, and I move on. If it's like not alignment to me, like I can know it instantly. But before, when I didn't know what my soul was and what my soul was meant to do and help people with, I was always back and forth thinking, well, how can I consume more information to know more about that, and then I'm going to do this. Like, it's like you have to like wait, and you're in this procrastination and in this like back and forth. So then you get really, really stuck, and you get to a point where you don't know who you are anymore. So and then you get out of your heart creation, your 5D, and that's the worst place to be. So when you get disempowered by any people, whether it's a private relationship or, you know, business besties or business coaches or whoever you're engaging with, you have to be clear about, you know, what consciousness are they at? And if they're at a higher level of consciousness, obviously they can bring you up towards being that, you know, 60 or above or 5D or above. And keep yourself there. So D says, so it's 3D, money, fame, black, etc. 4D is thinking or overthinking, worry, mindset. And 5D is spirituality, spiritual actions, thoughts from the soul. I think you could say that. Yeah. By the way, money and fame and lack and that 3D stuff is not bad. It's actually evidence of if that person can, well, I guess not all people are evolved that way. So, but I mean, like if they are aware of a higher level of consciousness, money and fame and all of that stuff and lack, they actually can be in your world, like at the same time. So it's not that that's 3D. It's more like things that are more tangible or physical. You make money, you have a better relationship. All of that stuff is actually more 7D, but you have to think of like 3D is more like more physicality, like the body, the tangible things that come up into fruition. And fame, I guess like fame could also be more 7th dimensional aspect because it's how people perceive you. They actually perceive you in a certain way because of the way you market it or the way you tell your story and what the way that they think of you. the way that they think of you and stuff like that, and your own thinking, that's the 4D for sure. Yeah. And the 5D is more of definitely your heart creation and your ability to feel the soul. I hope did that clear what I was saying? She says, I love the heart creation. Yay. Takia says, like you. Yeah, you know, like, even though I am very evolved, like my consciousness is very evolved up there, I still can create money and fame and stuff like that. So it's not about that is actually 3D, and it's not bad. It's more like it's the evidence of can be the evidence of the evolution of the person. Because a lot of the people out there who are making multiple 6-7 figures, that doesn't translate as their consciousness is 5D. You know, most of them are usually 4D or 3D. But they have found a way to create good connections or relationships and stuff like that with their 7-dimensional aspect and manifest. They probably even use some of their manifesting blueprints whenever they got in alignment. But yeah, it never translates to them being in alignment. Like, having success doesn't necessarily mean you're in alignment in any means. And that's what I've learned. Okay, this is why I'm teaching it. Is that your soul's evolution, like, you're either going to stay in that higher dimension aspects, or you're going to stay in the lower dimension aspects. Shantia says, I step into my personal power and manifest so fast that I get scared and withdraw. I resolve that. Oh, how do I resolve that? So what's happening, if we're talking about your, dimensional aspects, Shantia, when you're feeling the fear, you're actually experiencing your blocks in your 4D normally. This is what I found. Is the fear came up because there's illusions or emotions or thoughts or beliefs, right? That you're allowing that to control you. And so you're actually fighting between your 4D and your 5D world. And this is where ego sabotage comes through. Ego sabotage comes up and down like that because, oh, by the way, okay, what is ego sabotage? Okay, ego sabotage is where, like, you want something at the moment, like, let's say you want a course, or you want a boat, or you want something. There's something tangible that you're going to get. And then 2 minutes later, like, you know that you have the money in your bank account, but instead of going after that thing that your heart really, really does desire, and that you know that you absolutely need that in order to evolve your soul, as soon as you take the inaction at the moment, okay, I see this all the time. You think like, oh, I can do that later, like, and then you procrastinate to the point where you actually get ego sabotage, which is people starts like telling you what to do or want you to do something that you don't really want to do. So you end up focusing on doing that thing, or your kids get sick, or you get sick, or so like losing health in some way, or you start spending like uncontrollably on stuff that you really don't really need, and like itty bitty things, but then you just keep spending your money. And then later on you get to a point where you don't have the ability to pay for that course or that thing that you wanted. And because you didn't choose it at that moment, then every single block you can think of like comes up. Getting into an accident, your bank account get frozen, you're not able to send the money to the person. I don't know, really insane things. So you don't want to get yourself get stuck with ego sabotage, because it creates more and more chaos, and you get more in the 3D and the 4D problems, and then you get disempowered and you just get stuck in the 4D and you don't take action. So the only way to get out of that is you actually need to do the thing that you want. Absolutely, no matter what, do that thing, because whether it's like make more money somehow to pay for that thing that you wanted, But it has to be something that you soulfully know it's going to align you, like it's something's good for your soul. Then go after it, of course. But if it's not alignment to you, then don't do it. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in that at all either, okay? Takia says, fame is in my blueprint. It's been my status since I was 3, so I know it's not bad. I know from that famous space, I will change more lives and help more people. Right, fame is actually a good thing because you give people the opportunity to change by them seeing you as an example. So think of like fame in that way, like why I did so well, like later on, you know, when I was, you know, doing things like as a psychic monk and teaching yoga and meditation, was because people knew that I had the capacity to heal and help people. And so like it was just unlimited abundance that I received, but they also received too. So at any level, you just need to know how to use it, like use it in a good way. And you can see that some people, some celebrities are evolving a bit and they're really trying to use fame in a good way. It does absolutely change your higher dimension aspects. But if you are at soul level, like having all those issues with your 5D or 4D and your 3D blocks, is going to create a lot of problems in your physical health, in your mental state, like in your everyday life, and being able to sleep at night, like just simple things like that. So you do want to make sure that you're using fame and money for good reason, like for good purpose, right? Hi, Rick. Hi, Latoya. Elizabeth says, it's my goal. If my goal is to be of service to those who are transitioning to a more authentic life through my talisman, journals, and advising, what dimension does that intention reside? Well, whenever you're talking about goals, by the way, you're talking about your heart creation. So you're probably in your 5D. The 5D is always about getting deeper into what your soul wants to express, like your soul's voice and stuff. Usually that's your 5D. When you get into the aspects of the higher aspects of the 8D and above, you are actually like channeling source, like you're being source. And that's a whole nother topic. That's for sure a whole nother topic that I would like to talk to you guys about that too, for sure. Do you guys have any other questions? Wow, this was cool. Like we have like whole conversations here. You guys had lots of things to ask and share. Did I miss anybody? If I miss your statement or your question, totally type it in again. I think I didn't miss, hopefully, because I have two, you know, here. I have my Facebook group and I have you guys here on my other page. All right, so just again, make sure that number one, you're deciding on where do you want to live most of the time. What consciousness do you want to live, right? And if you want to evolve your soul more, ask for help. Ask for help from your guides. Ask for that ability to come into fruition more, right? Whatever you're desiring. And then second is you need to learn how to be in your loving presence. And when you're in your presence, by the way, you're in your 6D, right? The more you stay in your presence, the more you'll be able to like make better choices. So this is why they say meditate. But meditation doesn't have to be super long. It's more about you loving and getting in that presence to feel that alignment. Okay. Alicia says, I really miss lots of information up front, but how do you move from 5D to receiving channeling information? Okay, so when you want to move from the 5D and above, like you need to be able to create from the soul. You need to be able to manifest whatever you desire from at the soul level. So when you start manifesting everything that you desire at the soul level, then these higher levels of channeling information will come through. You can actually do that in your 5D or your 6D, right, when you're in that meditative state, but you do need to be clearly aware of where that information is coming from, because our gifts may be super expanded and we can get that information, but you got to make sure where you're getting the information. So that's another thing, by the way, that you need to practice is your points of access. So there's a reason to get information from your inner circle spirit guides. There's a reason to get information from your master teachers and guides. There's a reason why you connect with the Galactic Council. There's a reason why you connect with the person's higher self or the soul. Like, the more you're able to know how all of that all works, all you need is intention. You need clear intentions. So if you're able to develop your abilities to have clear intentions of access of information, discipline, like learning how to discipline that information that's coming through. And also you're going to know when your gifts are expanded enough, because you're going to have clear discernment, and also be able to be in integrity, step in your integrity and your divine truth. And then you're going to be able to be in this neutrality, in a neutral state, which you'll be able to access any parts of those higher level dimensional aspects, right? I hope that makes sense. Takia says, that's true, because I know now if someone is about to knock on the door, and even when somebody is coming to tell me about their issues too, I hear the knock or the combos before they appear. Yes, that's a very good way to know the points of access. You can receive information at any time, but you really do need to know how to control that channeled information. So remember, the second step is being in your loving presence will actually help you to make the right choices that align to you at the moment. And that's what's key, is being in that heart creation there. The third thing is your soul's gifts, your blueprints, is actually the roadmap that will allow you to manifest more in the 5D, the 7D and above. 7D and above is manifestations, creations, deeper connections, relationships. That's where your manifesting blueprints are. So how you relate to your 7D is very, very important. But if you don't know what your soul's gifts are, so that's your blueprints, and you don't know your manifesting blueprints, which will give you more access to your 7D, and you don't know how to have discernment and that points of access that I was talking about, it's very, very hard to not get overwhelmed by consuming information that's just out there, right? And then you get disempowered in a way that you can't create a business aligned to you. You end up creating a business that you thought that you would love doing, but actually makes no money at all. So your soul blueprints will give you that. And so that's why I created my manifestation program. And it's not just about manifestation. It's really about operating more in the 7D, the 5D or above. And that's a skill. You have to learn a new skill to be able to do this. So the first level of consciousness is going to solve that problem actually is you need to know how to manifest from the heart and be in your heart creation. So the program that I created, the 14-day soul line manifestation program, it was all meant for you to start to know what is it that you want, so that you can get into your heart's desires, so that you can actually manifest and create things at a higher level for your soul, for your soul's evolution. When we manifest, actually, we can manifest anything at any moment, money, people, places. Like, we do that all the time. But if you really want to manifest something that's really soulfully aligned to you, then you really need to learn how to manifest in the 5D and the 7D aspects. So, but you need to know your soul's blueprints, that you're manifesting blueprints this way. And you need to learn how to actually act upon at every moment what your soul desires. And so the program is all designed for you to do that. So if you guys are interested in that, you can look at my website, which is LeimomiKeliikuli.com. And I'm just going to type it in here so everybody else on my other show can see it. And on top of my you can see all of my different programs, but if you guys are really wanting to keep yourself at that consciousness, you first need to start operating from, I can manifest whatever I desire every 2 to 4 days. And you actually can do that if you're taking aligned action, like soul aligned actions. So that's what I'm teaching you, is like how to get from what I know that I am at soul level, and you can be in chaotic situation or not, doesn't matter. You really, really have to come from that part of your heart. So it is definitely key to make sure that it is in alignment for you, like anything too. So I always ask you to please, decide if that's really what you want to do. We actually started already, but if you really want to join the program, you can totally jump in. I'm not sure when I'm going to keep running it, because this is live. I need to help you to learn how to live in alignment to your soul. So I will tell everybody again when I'm going to do it again. But if you're really, really wanting that alignment, and your soul, like how can you stay in the right dimensional aspects and be able to channel the right information, all of that stuff, you basically need to learn that first step, which is alignment to the soul that way. Okay. Alicia says, crazy you said discern. As I was typing, this has been happening a lot, often, where I know what people are saying before they say it. Which dimension is that? I would say probably you're connected to the 4D. And by the way, all information about the mind and the mental patterns or the emotions or the thoughts, they're usually from the 4D. You're probably accessing like their public information, because there's information about everything, about everybody, anywhere. You're accessing usually the mind, or accessing the emotional mental body of the person. So we can know whether they're angry, whether they're sad, or whether they're happy, and you get that information beforehand usually. So usually that's the 4D. He says 14-day workshop was a life changer for me. Yeah, she went a million miles per hour towards the right direction. Because Dee was able to see how she could be in her power in the best way. And that's what I want, is I want you to learn how to do it yourself, so that you know when you are in what dimensional aspect. It's going to give you so much more clarity. He says it was my holy grail and gave me absolute clarity. Right, exactly. That's what happens when you're in alignment. Like, you just get so much clarity and you're just acting upon it, and you move much more faster than you can imagine, believe me. That's how I know, like for myself too, if I'm at what level of consciousness I'm at, is like if I'm really acting from my heart, like manifestation after manifestation happens. If I'm not, then I'm usually stuck in my 4D or my 3D stuff, and that gets me like kind of overwhelmed, right? So there are certain symptoms that I can tell whether you are in that which consciousness you're at, just by hearing the way that you share your stuff. But it's more about you knowing at what level are you accessing your consciousness, right? So I gave you guys that information. If you missed out, go listen to the replay, because during this last part, and by the way, this is what my TV show is going to be about. I'm going to share with you amazing information. I'm going to do interviews with people to help you to feel what is your genius, how to be in alignment to what your soul is designed to do. And at the end of the broadcast and stuff, I will just spend time with you guys to answer some of your questions along the way too. All right, so anyway, I think that's it. Did I miss anybody else's questions? Any last things you guys have to share with me? Elizabeth said thank you. Thank you for you guys like hanging out with me. I love doing this. I love just like talking with you guys and connecting with you guys. So if you ever have any moments, I'm going to probably keep doing my LeimomiTV like this, probably around 4 o'clock, around that time. And that's when I can share stuff like this with you. So I will be definitely creating better content along the way. This is awesome. I manifested your topic tonight because right before I found you, I was going to ask this question in the group. That's what Alicia says. That's just perfect. Like, you know, this is how it works, right? When you desire something, like the thing just shows up. So there you go. I answered your questions. I love it. Okay. Well, anyway, if you guys have any last things, and if you're really interested in this stuff that I'm teaching, you know, come hit me up, PM message me, come and go into my soul alignment leaders group if you're not in there yet, because it's where we can talk about all of these kind of topics with other people. So go and search for soul aligned leaders for conscious living and come join my group. Also, if you don't really know too much about what your gifts is, then go on my website, LeimomiKeliikuli.com, and you can take a quiz that was going to help pinpoint what your main gifts are, your soul's gifts. Rick says, always a pleasure listening to you. Keep up the great work. Talk to you later. Yeah, I miss you, Rick. We go way back. Okay, so anyway, I will talk to you guys soon, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Aloha.